His legal name was Kenneth Anderson, but we called him Kenny, and he was my brother. What happened that day at the bank was that, he went in just like he always did to open the bank up, and apparently they had, the people who'd killed him, the father and son, had been there the Friday before and had actually seen him sitting at the desk. I guess when he went in, he'd always checked in and sat at the desk that was at the front door when everybody arrived to go to work. And I guess that day he had been at the desk earlier, but he had left or got up and he was standing in between the safety deposit door and what they had told me was the kitchen door or their break room when the actual father and son came in to actually rob the bank. I got the call from my sister probably about, about 3:45. And she wanted to know if I could find out who had been killed at the bank. And she told me then that Kenny was working there, in which my heart just went to my feet. And I called my husband to see if there was any way he could find out. And he says, well, let me do some checking. I'll see what I can find out. So I hung up the phone, and I had a friend who worked at the medical examiner's office, who's also a reserve. So I called him to see if he had been dispatched to the bank. And he said they hadn't been dispatched yet, but he would let me know if he had heard anything. So I hung up the phone, and I was working at St. Francis Hospital at the doctor's office, so I ran to the ER to see if they had brought anybody in, and they hadn't. So I went back to my office, and I called my husband again, and he's like, I still haven't been able to find anything, but just, I'm still trying, and just come on home. And I told him, no, I'm going to the bank. And he's like, no, you need to come home. And I was like, no, I've got to go find out if it's him. So I went ahead and left to go home, and I got as far as 91st and Sheridan, because I do live in Bixby, and got as far as 91st and Sheridan. My sister called me and told me that it was my brother. And I wanted to go back so I could see him, but I knew I couldn't. And I was just upset because I hadn't even talked to him in a couple of days, so I didn't even know where he was, and you just never know when something's going to happen. So I know he did what he had to do, and I know he would have done it again. He was just that type of person that whatever it took to keep everybody safe, he was going to do it. I know I felt proud that he wanted to do something, follow in what I was doing. We had talked a few times about him maybe getting into the reserve program, and he was like, no, if he was going to do it, he was going to do it all the way. And I said, well, that's great. I'm glad you're wanting to do something really good with your life, and you've got the college hours, so I'm all for you. I'll back you 100%, whatever you want to do. And when he told me he was in law enforcement or in security, I knew that was a step towards the right direction for him. Kenny fought back. He was carrying a .45 automatic that carries 12 to 15 rounds. From what I understand, from what they've told me, he got off 10 rounds before his gun was disabled. And with him shooting back and actually wounding both of them, he stopped them. They walked out of the bank with no money. They weren't able to get what they wanted. Their plot was stopped. He's not there to see, his daughter graduate from high school last month. He wasn't there the year my son graduated, which was the year after he was killed, which was really hard for me because he graduated on the anniversary of Kenny's death. And it just broke my heart to think that Kenny wasn't there to see it. And I know that there's been so much that Monique has gone through, that her father's not there to help her through it. You know, she's getting ready to start college and he's not there. There's just, you know, I think of things and I want to go run and tell him that just little things. It's just a big emptiness. That he's not ever going to see his daughter get married, have kids. I don't think they would have went and done it if they would have known he was there. And that's my belief, that if every bank would put a police car in front, an off-duty one. I know they pay off-duty police officers to do it all the time. I know it's a lot of money for them to have to pay, but it would stop all the killings. You know, the bank tellers wouldn't be killed, the security guards wouldn't be killed. You know, as long as if there's a car sitting out front, criminals aren't going to go where there's a police officer there. They know that's stupid. They're not going to do it. So, pay the money. Have a police car sitting there so they don't come do this. So they don't take innocent people from their families.